Hey guys, I'm Mike Manalo from Mama's Geeky. How are you both?
Very good. Very good.
Great. Thanks for having us.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for taking the time. This is such an awesome movie. I'm sorry, I love it so much. I would say it's going to be a future cult classic, but I think it's going to transcend that. I think people are going to love this the second that it hits, you know. And I gotta say, so I am from the Bay Area. I'm 510 representing, you know. And I grew up in Mountain View, went to school in Berkeley. And I get kind of sad that there aren't that many quintessential Oakland-based movies or Bay Area-based movies. And I love that Freaky Tales is one of those movies, one of the few that we're getting. It's such a good one. What really inspired the little vignettes and really what made those vignettes so key to telling the story of Oakland and telling the story of the Bay Area in the 80s?
Yeah. Well, I grew up in Oakland and other places in the East Bay, and I remember hearing the song Freaky Tales by Too Short as a kid and just being shocked and loving it, but also kind of freaked out by it. And so just being a 10-year-old boy growing up in that era, there's the music, and then of course there's the sports. It was the same age, it was the same year as that Sleepy Floyd playoff game, and that always stuck with me. I heard it on the radio, the Greg Papa play-by-play, where he says Sleepy Floyd is Superman, which sort of inspired the idea that an athlete could be a superhero. And then there's the punk rock scene at Gilman, and then all the movies that I loved growing up on, which is kind of the Pedro Pascal storyline. And I'd been pitching versions of this story to Anna over the years, and none of them quite clicked until we came up with the idea that, hey, these could be contained short stories where all the characters sort of overlap with each other in a kind of Pulp Fiction-esque kind of way. And I think that's what really opened it up creatively for us.
Love it. It reminded me a lot of like Trick or Treat as well. With all the intersecting characters and how they're connected and intertwined. Pulp Fiction's a great example too. And I love how artistically you guys are able to weave these stories so seamlessly, despite each one really having its own tone and its own way of execution. I really thought it was brilliant. I couldn't help but notice being former MCU directors, the amount of amazing MCU talent that you've also gotten to hear, the actors who transcend just the comic book movies and are just seriously terrific actors. Dominique, Pedro, Ben, of course, who's wonderful and who you guys have worked with before. Did that connection, and that commonality of having worked on these big studio projects kind of really connect you all and help you find a central ground and working on something a little smaller and a lot more personal.
We knew Ben before he was part of the MCU. In fact, we cast him when we made Captain Marvel and kind of brought him in with us. And Pedro also, he didn't join the Fantastic Four until after making this movie. And Dominique Thorne, she was kind of starting out in that world, but her show hadn't come out yet. So I don't think that that was like part of like I think that in fact, like what really tied us together more was coming from indie movies, to be
Yeah.
perfectly honest. Like we'd spent more time in the indie world than any of us had in the big kind of comic book action movie world. But what did, I think, tie us together was a love of these kind of pulpy 80s movies that really Freaky Tales is a love letter to and
Mhm.
is a mixtape of and really homages so much. And I'd say that like more than anything else is something that all of us and like our actors really shared.
That's wonderful. I know that we're gonna have to wrap soon, but I do have to ask a very quick question. Any chance we might get Freaky Tales Volume 2?
Oh man,
Oh,
wouldn't that be great?
I
You
would
know what?
love that.
I would love it too. It all depends on if people show up to see this one, doesn't it?
yep.
It it
Maybe it'll
does.
be Freaky Tales, Newton, Massachusetts, where I grew up.
No, we gotta make it equal for Anna. Have her. I'd love to hear some Boston, some Massachusetts stories. Come to life. Some freaky tales from there. Honestly, you guys, this was a gift. Thank you so much. Not just for the interview, but for the wonderful movie and the amazing work that you guys have done throughout these years. As brilliant storytellers. So, congratulations. Can't wait for people to see this and love it as much as I. Hi, Jiyoung. How are you? I'm Mike Manal from Mama's Geeky.
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
Doing great, thank you. And thank you for this brilliant performance and for the time today. This is such an interesting and fun movie. It really reminded me of things like Trick or Treat, and Pulp Fiction. And really just, the way that Anna and Ryan kind of just wove all these different stories together and these characters together. It's so masterfully done. Yeah, so really congratulations and well done.
Thank you so much. That's so kind.
Of course. Honestly, I really love Tina. I thought that she was such a good character. And it's like what a way to kick off this movie, right? Is with this story that is at its core, I can't describe it as anything more than punk rock, which I love. Did you have to do a whole lot of research about the punk scene in Oakland in the 1980s to prepare for this role?
Yeah, I did a lot of research. I mean, I'm from Colorado, so and I didn't grow up in the 80s, so there was a lot of things that I needed to look into and as I looked into it, it was so incredible to see how many bands I love all came out of the East Bay and have been inspired by things that were happening specifically in the 80s at Gilman. It was amazing. And then as I did more and more research, I just felt more and more pressure and importance of making sure that we told it right and that we got the culture of it right. And I just kept digging. I tried to do as much as I possibly could in order to get it done.
I love that. As far as working with Ryan and Anna goes, can you talk about that experience? How were they as directors?
They're great. I've never worked with two directors before, so that was a really unique experience to watch how they would move as one mind and divide work and make decisions with each other and then also know what they would like, what they wouldn't like and how they would juggle the work on a film set. And I think it honestly is genius because the work of a director is so enormous on an average production day that having two directors was amazing. And then on a personal level, I had, up until that point in my career, never worked with a man as a director. So it was fun to work with Ryan and have like a man in the director's chair. And then it was great to have the dynamic of him and Anna being such a strong and wonderful female voice on set.
It really makes for just a good combination, when you've got characters that are male heroes and then characters are female heroes, you've got both perspectives feeding into that so that no one's misspeaking to the experience of any of the characters.
Yeah, I think that's the beauty of having two directors who are also writers. They are able to really challenge each other's point of view and flesh out the script more and I love the female representation in it. I think the women in this film are so cool.
I love that about these characters as well. Your character, Dominique's character, they're all characters that I really personally loved just watching. And honestly, these stories were just so intriguing and so one of the things I found really inspiring actually was you take on and you throw down with, let's be honest, a bunch of neo-Nazis, people who are going around really, advocating for white power and everything like that. And it couldn't be more relevant today. It's more relevant today than it ever was, even in the 80s. And I wanted to just ask, do you have any hopes for folks who are watching this about the potential messages that they could take away about, what it says about racism then and racism now and how we can kind of fight back against it?
When we filmed this in 2022, and
Mm,
so the fighting against neo-Nazis was very different.
mm.
Um, it was still an important message, but we didn't necessarily think it was an extraordinary relevant thing. And it just has a very different meaning coming out now. I think what's coolest about this movie is that it's ultimately about community, and
Yeah.
it's about love and compassion and protecting what you love.
Mhm.
And I think that the answer to hatred is compassion and community and self-expression because power is not interested in your voice, it's interested in your compliance. So I hope everyone gets a little more vocal and brave maybe after this film.
Absolutely. Unity will always overcome division. And I think that's something that's really relevant here. Speaking of throwing down, you're such a badass. Come on. Those fight scenes are amazing. Any training or any stunts that you had to do just to like, beat up a bunch of guys that are like 10 times your size and everything like that?
Um, I've been dancing since I was about 4, and I also come from a martial arts family, but I have no formal martial arts training myself. So I was coming in with a good amount of just movement experience in general, but hadn't really done stunts before and fell in love with it on this movie, and it's so much fun. Did all my own stunts. And I just really hope I can do more. It's a really fun day at work when you get to do fake fighting.
I gotta see more of you doing fake fighting, honestly, and real fighting. If I ever get into a real fight, I'm calling you up to be in my corner because
Oh
I'm
no, I
gonna
don't
need
know
that
about that.
protection.
I don't know about that. I don't have Tina's wristband on me anymore, so I really don't know how useful I would be.
Well, at the very minimum, moral support will definitely go a long way.
I'm a great cheerleader.
Jiyoung, Jiyoung, you are amazing in this. Congratulations on this movie. Congratulations on everything that you've done in your career. And I can't wait for people to see Tina and see you bring them to life. So that's
Thank
that's gonna be
you.
wonderful.
Thank you so
Thank you
much.
so much. Of course.